Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here is your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday morning on Faith in Our Hometown. If you're watching at 6:30, I give you kudos for being awake at this hour of the morning, all right? And if you're watching at 9, well, get ready for church, okay? That's all I can say to you. But it's welcome. It's good to have you with us, and we are talking again about issues that affect us as part of the Greater Southern community. A couple weeks ago on our show, I had a guest from Southern, and one of the things we were talking about is that whole reality of a first-generation college student, which is what we have a lot of at Missouri Southern. So we're going to talk about what the university does and what our community can do to help these first-generation college students to succeed. How can we help them to make the difference so that they can improve their lives and the lives of their families into the future? So my guest this morning is going to be Dr. Debbie Ford, who's the director of MSSU's Project Stay. She's a staff member there. So grab a cup of coffee, come back and join us. We're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute.
The whole purpose of screening is to catch people who have a significant smoking history early enough where we can do something about it and potentially improve the duration of life. The minimum recommendation for screening is 30-pack years. So usually people who've smoked more than 30-pack years are the ones that we're screening. If we start screening yearly with low-dose CT scans, we can reduce the risk of death from lung cancer by 20 to 25%. Stage 1, 2, and 3 cancers potentially can be cured. When it becomes stage 4, the possibility of cure falls significantly.
Well, again, thanks for joining us this Sunday morning. My guest this morning is Dr. Debbie Ford. Debbie is, Debbie's got a long pedigree, so I'm going to let her tell you about that. But she is right now currently the director of Project Stay at Missouri Southern and a staff member there. So, Debbie, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you eventually wandered by that path to Southern.
Okay. Well, early on I knew I was going to be a teacher. And so I spent 33 years in area school districts, 25 in Joplin as a teacher and then a counselor and a principal. And the tornado happened and my school was destroyed. And then I stayed through that when we put the two schools together. There was a one principal's job and two principals, so I knew that was my time to retire. Mm-hmm. So I retired for 50 days and got bored. And said,
days.
What can I do now? And fortunately for me, there was an opening at Missouri Southern. I applied for it and was fortunate enough to get it. Started out there as hiring the tutors, learned a lot in that position, did that for 2.5 years, and now I've been director of Project Stay for 2.5 years.
God love you. Well, your pedigree is very similar to my mother's, so you're already I'm already very fond of you.
Thank you.
Because she was a 52-year educator, counselor, principal,
Yes.
all those things, and I just but she taught for 52 years in the Catholic schools. So wow, yeah,
She's
there you go.
much better than
she
me.
was tough.
I like a little variety.
She was tough. Yeah. But at any rate, so this Project Stay. Tell us about Project Stay at Southern.
Well, Project Stay is a TRIO program. TRIO programs were initiated in the 60s by President Johnson. He said, everyone who wants to go to school should have that opportunity, regardless of their income, regardless of their color, regardless of their position in life.
Right.
TRIO came to Missouri Southern in 1999, first through Upward Bound, which is a TRIO program for high school students, which still is in existence, and all of our area school students can participate. That program's purpose is to prepare high school students for college.
And that's probably the most well known of the TRIO programs.
Yes.
Right?
And I'd just like to encourage families to get your children enrolled because it's never too early. Now we also have a talent search program that starts at middle school level. So you can start planning for your child's future in 6th grade now in this area. So, but anyway, TRIO as we know it in Project Stay came in 2001. And so it's a federally funded grant program, and our whole goal is to make sure students have resources they need to take them to graduation and transitioning into their careers.
Yeah, and again, we've got so many at Southern who they're the first person in their family that's ever gone to college.
That's true.
I love that when I was at Southeast Missouri State, and now that I've been at Southern, because of the areas that we serve in those respective areas of the state, there were a lot of people who were first time, first in their family. We always, at graduation ceremonies, would ask everybody to stand if they were the first ones in their family to graduate from college, and I was always amazed at how many that was. Because I grew up. My mom was an educator, so we just wasn't. And I was, I could do it. I was good at academics, so there was never any question. I was going to college, and then I was going, and of course I went through professional school and all those things. It just wasn't. It wasn't an issue. It's just that was what we all were expected to do.
Right.
Well,
I was a first generation, and so I vividly remember, even though it's been a long time ago, what a culture shock it was, how college was so different from high school. And we have, to be in TRIO, you have to meet one of 3 qualifiers. One of those is first generation, one of those is limited income, and one of those is documented disability. And you only have to meet one. But 80% of our campus meets one of those qualifiers, but we only get to serve 175 students in our grant. So there is a great need, just a portion of which we're addressing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And those are new statistics for me, even having been at Southern now for, 12 and a half years. It's just like I didn't realize that the numbers were quite like that.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So 80% of our students could receive, even though we can't, because of the amount of funds that we receive, we can't do all of them.
That's correct.
Wow.
Sad.
Well,
so we try to replicate some of the services.
Well, and you try to, even though you only get so much of that pie, if you will, obviously we still try to serve all of our students to make them succeed.
A really great example of that is, since we are grant funded, we have 4 criteria that every year we're scored against, and one of those is fall to fall retention. And this semester at Southern, that is a goal for all of the faculty and staff, is fall to fall retention. And so that's a great example of taking one of the things that applies to our program and applying it to the entire university.
Right. And again, for anybody that doesn't know, that is one of the big things that our state legislators really will have issue with if we don't keep our students. Right. Because we're not running a very good institution if we can't keep our students and help them succeed to graduation. Because it's almost like taking their money and then shuttling them out the door, which nobody thinks we're doing our job right if that's all we do.
And graduation is our end goal, but we have to have measurements along the way of how are we doing along the way. And so fall to fall retention is an excellent measure of how we're doing along the way.
Yeah, which is great. Because, I love watching students succeed. I love watching them. They come in, since most of them aren't watching this morning, I'll say, they come in these goofy little freshmen and, and are just wide-eyed and don't have any clue what they're up to. And I just love watching them grow up because, so many times by the time they're juniors and seniors, they have just gone through this phenomenal transformation of taking some great steps toward being a real bona fide grown-up, and I love watching that transformation in the students. I love dealing with them. I still wish I were in the classroom. It's one of my great laments is that I don't have time to teach at Southern the same way I did at Southeast.
I teach a freshman orientation class just for that purpose. I just love getting in with the freshmen and saying, why are you here? And the answers are so varied as to why they're there. But one of the freshman culture shocks is, as a high school senior, you went to school 8 to 3, then you maybe played sports or you did a job and you did homework at 11 o'clock at night. So their brains are used to doing homework at 11 o'clock at night. It never occurs to them, I could be doing homework at 10 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because you're not in class 8 to 3 in college. So there's lots of changes. It's a big transition.
Oh yeah, and getting everybody to think differently. Again, there's so many of them that are non-traditional students, and and by that term I mean, not 22 to 20, not 18 to 25, but like 25 to 35, and all of a sudden they're used to multitasking. I used to always tell my non-traditional students, don't worry about a thing. If you can apply yourself the same way here in class that you apply yourself to all the other aspects of your life, you're really going to be fine. And most of the time, we just had to prove it to them that they could actually do it.
Right. Well, actually, research shows non-traditional students generally do very well because they've learned to multitask.
They've learned to do it.
Our average age at Southern's about 24, and in my program, I have students ages 18 to 69.
Gotta love it.
wonderful variety.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And the 69-year-olds can teach our younger students a
Absolutely.
whole lot. You know, I love it when those friendships break out because, again, they're teaching each other how to succeed.
Yes,
You know, the younger ones are
absolutely.
teaching some of the older ones some of the new tricks,
Yes.
and the older ones are teaching the younger ones about how to make it happen.
Right. My students teach me things every day.
Yeah, well,
Every
that's-
day I learn something new from my students.
Yep, and that is
Yes.
that is the route to go. A couple weeks ago, when I was talking with one of your colleagues from the university, we were talking exactly about that. Is that that we really in so many ways, with our students, it's kind of like this, partnership that we don't stop to think about very often. And I think those of us that are in higher ed are blessed
Yes.
because we really get that opportunity to form those partnerships. And it's only when we form the partnerships that we figure out, well, what do we really need to learn and what do we really need to approach and how do we really need to help them fix it so that they can be about succeeding.
Right. And empower them to do it. Maybe guide them, but empower them to make the changes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what's your actual job? So what do you
Okay.
do?
Okay, so my job is, and I have 3 wonderful teammates in this journey. We work with 175 students, and our job is basically to make sure they graduate within 6 years. Because we know 4-year graduations just sometimes is not realistic. If
Especially
you're
for-
working and you're a parent and
Yeah.
life happens.
With all those other challenges,
So-
yes, it's very difficult. Besides
Yes.
that, most of them got full-time jobs in addition to being full-time
Yes.
students.
And we know
which
the
is
more
like 2
hours
jobs.
they work, the more difficult it is, the lower the GPA goes down.
Yep.
So, but sometimes you don't have that choice. You have to work full time.
Right.
I have a young man who's probably 22 who works full time nights, comes to school, does his classes, goes home and sleeps for a few hours, goes back into work. I don't know how he does it, but anyway, we do a variety of things. We have a kind of a plethora of resources that we provide for them that support them on this journey so that they do get to graduation.
Yeah. So give us an example of a couple of those.
Okay, if you were to ask the students their favorite thing that we provide, it would probably be priority enrollment. That means they get to enroll before anyone else.
Oh,
if
now
you're
that
a
is a perk.
freshman,
That
that
is
is
a
a big perk. If you're a freshman and you have to wait for 3/4 of the school to enroll, the pickings are pretty slim by then.
Right.
So getting to enroll at the same time as the athletes, the honor students, the yours to lose medical students, it's a big perk.
Yeah.
So that's probably a big one, they would say. A small one that you wouldn't even think is important is free printing. At 10 cents a page, free printing adds up. And so they can come in our office. We have 3 student areas set up. They can bring their flash drive in and they can print.
So they can print their paper for class.
Print their paper, print their syllabi.
Yeah.
It's a big, big deal.
Which, especially, if your printer goes kaput,
Yes.
the night before, that saves you a long circuitous route of
Right.
trying to figure out how you're going to get it printed in time for
Right.
class.
And ink is expensive. And sometimes if they have a printer problem, they'll email me their paper and say, will you print this for me? I'll be in the morning. And of course, we're happy to do that to help
Yeah.
them.
As long as they don't abuse the privilege, I'm
Right,
sure.
right,
Yeah, because again,
exactly.
part of the whole thing is with some of them is trying to growing them up.
Right.
So my guest this morning is Dr. Debbie Fort, who's the director of the MSSU Project Stay at Missouri Southern. So stick around. We're going to be right back after a real quick break. So don't go away. Stick with us.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service of Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Well, again, thanks for sticking with us for another Sunday morning. My guest, Dr. Debbie Fort, longtime educator in the area and currently the director of Project Stay. We were just talking about some of the little things that we do to help our students succeed. What would you do for some of our readers, some of our listeners, viewers, who would say, well, that's just coddling those kids. How are we, or those adults or whoever they happen to be, because obviously, you've got them from, as you said, 18 to, 69. Yeah. Some of those are not kids. Right. But what would you say to the people that say, well, that's just coddling them and we need to help them to snap out of it and make their own way?
Well, and I think that's what we do. We provide some services for them, but it's up to them whether they choose to take advantage of the services or not. For example, We have personal counseling available at the university level for all of our students, but we have a personal counselor in our office too. It's up to the students whether they take advantage of that or not. Some students never see her. Some may see her, you know, if they have a breakup or their pet dies and they're 3,000 miles from home. Some may see her on a regular basis. We do job shadowing. Some wonderful things have happened because of job shadowing. Students have obtained positions. They've made good networking connections. They've also changed majors. We had one student want to be a respiratory therapist, or I'm sorry, an x-ray technician, went to observe that, and the patient actually expired on the table. It had never occurred to her she might lose a patient while doing an x-ray. She changed her major. So it's really important to job shadow, but we don't make you go job shadow. It's your choice. It's a service available, and if you want to take advantage of it, you can, but if not, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But we know that for first generation students, it's harder for them to graduate because no one has gone before them. No one tells them withdraw from a class before you take an F. No one tells them file your federal financial aid by February 1st so you also get your Missouri Access Grant. They don't know those things because no one went before them to tell them those things.
That's right.
So that's what we do.
Well, and there's a lot of those little things that you know, when you, I've worked in higher ed now for 25 years. So I mean, you know which people to send to send them to at the university. Just
Right.
as, you know, if you haven't done that, it's a little late. You guys, you really need to get on that, you know, and push them to do those things. And it's only if you've, it's kind of like, as I say, you know, it's kind of like being a missionary in a foreign land, you know.
Yeah.
And instead of going to a different country, you go to this different world that's called higher ed. And when you go into that different world, it's like anything else. It takes you a while to learn the language, takes you a little while to learn the customs, takes you a little while to learn what the mores or the rules of life are and how you function in it. And in some ways, what the TRIO programs are designed to do is to help people even from middle school or high school, and once they get there, to navigate that new land and to speak that new language and to make the right translations. Again, because we're just trying to help people to succeed.
Yes.
You know, sometimes you get pinched by rules that you never knew existed.
Right.
And you guys are just there to help make that a little bit easier.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah. We also do, we take them on trips in the area because a lot of times students never leave Joplin, which I know is surprising to us, but not unusual. And so we try to expose them to arts, like we went to see Mamma Mia in Kansas City. But we're also going to go to the Bookhouse Cinema because we want to promote area things. We also, though I'm a strong believer in to whom much is given, much is required. So we do community service. This year, or this semester, we're doing Joplin Humane Society, we're doing Fostering Hope, and we're doing a food drive for the MSSU Food Co-op, calling it Love Thy Neighbor, and we are challenging all the different departments out at Missouri Southern for the entire month of February to get health and beauty aids and food items for our new co-op.
Yeah, and so to do some of those things, again, just requires, I would say it's a deft touch of just helping people to grow up and to take a new look at and a new role in their grown-up lives.
To get them to look outside of themselves to say, what's my role in this community? Because we're all required to give back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What's your favorite story of a student that you were worried about that suddenly, I mean, are changing the names, of course, to protect the innocent and or guilty. But what would be your favorite story of somewhere where you just knew that was the reason why you were there doing that job?
Yeah. Well, I have a lot, but to
You
go
can
back
pick
to
a couple.
the 79-year-old woman in our program entered a non-traditional field. And I'm just so proud of her that at her age, she decided to come back to school and get a degree in CIS, which is Computer Information Systems, which she's similar to my age, and we didn't have that opportunity. We could be teachers, or we could be nurses, or we could be moms when I was young. And so I'm very, very proud of her. We have a Hispanic mom. That language was somewhat of a barrier. She's in a healthcare profession and lots of vocabulary, as you know. And so just being able to connect her to people to help her to understand that, and she will graduate with her nursing degree. So just
and
helping
it's going to be
them.
so employable. because
we'll
we
be
need
so
people
employable.
Oh yeah, because all of our institutions and doctors'
Yes.
offices and everything need to be able to deal with that part of the area. And some of our elderly Hispanic people are still struggling with some of the language.
Yes.
So that'll be a great skill.
She's going to be a wonderful nurse and make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yes,
And see, those are
definitely.
great. Those are great stories of success. I mean, and I will say, I mean, again, sometimes working near higher ed and in it, you almost get to where you take some of those stories of success for granted because it's just what we do every day.
Right.
And
But every once in a while, you get a reminder that you're making a difference in the lives of people.
Yeah.
You're maybe advocating for those who can't speak for themselves for the moment.
Yep.
So.
And I love it when they come back, and their own kids are getting ready to go to college, and they'll quote me and they'll say, "Well, you taught me that." I'd be like, "I did? Wow, good
A
for
really
me,
fun
and good
thing-
for me."
Yes. A really fun thing is that I have some of my students that were my students at Irving when
Yeah.
I was the principal are now in my program.
Sure, you gotta love that.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I have 3 or 4 parent-child in my program. So parents who have come back to learn and they're just graduated high school students. So I have about 4 mother-daughters or father-sons or father-daughters
Yeah.
in my program. And that's just really fun to get the different perspectives.
Well, like I say, I'm just now coming into that second college thing. I've, of course, had kids who've had kids in my grade schools and stuff. But,
I've done that.
but now they're starting to come back into the college, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I can't believe your child is going to college." And I'm,
Yes. When I got the grandchildren of the children, because I started at Joplin High School, and so I started, typically 18-year-old. But when I got their grandchildren at Irving, it's like, I think it's time. Yeah. 3 generations.
So, in terms of these first-generation college students, are they? They're across the board. Are they from the larger part of the area? Would we?
It's across the board. We have every representation culturally, age-wise, just a good variety of people. We have some first-time students. We have some honor students. We have some athletes. We have some single moms. We have some single dads. It's just grandmothers. We have just a variety of people in the program, and it's a great joy every day to go to work.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and you look like you're very happy at what you do.
I am. I'm
Yeah.
very blessed.
Yeah, and so to have a little bit of a change in the career along the way,
Yeah.
and now you're forming at the college level,
Yes.
which is fun. Yeah,
I love it.
I've often said, I love the little kids. They're fun, but I just got to say I love teaching at the college level
Yeah.
because their brains are just zipping at such an entertaining level.
Yeah.
And they can really ask the tough questions, and it
Yes.
just makes it more fun.
The conversations are great.
Oh my gosh. And I don't mind going into reading to the kindergartners or singing songs
Yes.
or doing any of those kinds of things, because I love the little kids too.
Yes.
But I love teaching the college students because it's just such a challenge.
Yes.
Because they don't take anything for granted.
Oh, no.
You're just like,
They
if you
challenge
if you
everything.
try to bluff them, they're just
Yeah.
kind of like, wait a minute, where's your proof? What do we talk about this?
Right.
And you're like,
That's
okay,
true. That
here
is
we
true.
go, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
And I personally enjoy it. Now, I know some of my kindergarten teachers that would say, oh, Lord, I couldn't just, no, mm-mm. Yeah, so we've all got to find our niche.
Kindergarten teachers are the hardest working teachers.
I'll tell you what, they are something. They're a blessing.
Definitely.
But I said, give me the college ones. And then they'll usually look at me and go, no, you can have the college ones, which is good there. So in terms of that, why don't you, it's been a while since, I've had, somebody who's focused on all these different aspects and levels of education. But say a little bit about lifelong learning.
Okay.
Because I just really think that's it's one of my big
do.
drums to bang, and I haven't had a chance to bang it for a
Absolutely.
little while. So say a little bit about
Okay.
lifetime learning.
I'm a firm believer that every day you should learn something new. If you go to bed at night and you've not learned anything new that day, you've kind of wasted that day. And so I think that learning occurs every single day of your life, and we can learn from everybody every single day. Sundays I learn from my pastor. Third the week, gosh, today I had my 5-year-old grandson and I learned from him. And so if we just open our minds to other people, we can learn something new every day that makes us be a better person so we can make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Love lifelong learning.
Yeah, and I am the same way. You stop and you think, you spend all these years in school, and you really learn. I think if you do it right and you've got any humility at all, is by the time you get finished, you really realize what you don't know.
Absolutely.
You know, that there's so many more things out there, so many more things to capture your imagination, or you know, it's just like, if I could go back now, in my retirement, I hope that I get to retire near a university so that I can just, you know, do one of those things to just take classes for free. Just for fun.
Yes.
You know, some of the stuff that I had interest in and didn't get a chance to do the first time around because I was too busy getting through it and doing my thing. And now
we have so many wonderful offerings at Southern. There's so many varied classes to take that every semester I can take something new and learn something new.
Yeah, which is great. My guest this morning is Dr. Debbie Fort, who's on the staff of Missouri Southern. She's the director of Project Stay, which is one of the TRIO programs, and the TRIO programs are definitely designed to help people to get into and to succeed in graduating college. So we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Don't go away. We'll be back to wrap up.
The dreaded tagged photo. I married the love of my life in October, and when I got home that night, I saw this. Frankly, this is every obese person's worst nightmare. You have no control, none, over what other people post. And up until that day, I'd been very careful about how I presented myself on social media. In fact, I generally only posted photos like this. What's sad is that I haven't always been like this. Confession, I've been a yo-yo dieter for roughly 10 years. When I met this amazing guy 3 years ago, he didn't care how much I weighed, but he did care about my health. A month after our wedding, I talked to my doctor and my journey began. Here's an honest and usually pretty entertaining look at how I got to bariatric surgery and beyond. Buckle up, check out my blog, Confessions of a Yo-Yo Dieter.
Well, thanks again for joining us for another Sunday morning for Faith in Our Hometown. My guest this morning, Dr. Debbie Fort, who is the director of Project Stay. Because one of the things we're all about at Missouri Southern, and I would hope for at all of our educational institutions, is that we want to keep them there long enough for them to succeed. Now, we don't want them to stay beyond graduation, but we do want them to finish up and we do want them to graduate, because that's how our students succeed, is by going through those different levels of their educational progress. And for those who are, you know, cut out for college and have those dreams about doing something that they need a college education for, that's what we're there for. So what we like to do is we like to get them in and we like to help them succeed. Sometimes that's with a little extra TLC along the edges. Sometimes it's special attention to those who are the first ones in their families to ever graduate from college or even attend college. We do whatever we need to do in order to help them to succeed and to be on about the next stage in life. Isn't that what we all want from each other? For us to fulfill and succeed in some of our dreams here in the greater Joplin area? So, if you know somebody who needs a little bit of support as they head toward that dream, get in touch. Think about Upward Bound. Think about Project Head Start. Think about all those things that we can give all of our students in our area a little bit of a leg up, especially if they need it. So again, we're grateful that you spend some of your Sunday mornings with us in Faith in Our Hometown. Let's continue to take care of each other. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.